Ned, thank you for coming here. I've been asking for this camera for like years.
Yeah, like 2 days.
No, years.
No, this form.
This form factor. I understand what you're saying there.
Yeah, I mean, Jens and I, for 27 years, we keep saying this. It seems like we've been saying this a lot lately.
You got to mount it on your shoulder. You got to be able to use it like a real camera. This is a real camera.
Yes, thank you.
Is that what I've been saying?
Well,
Something like that.
Well, we were talking about the whole B4 thing, and it's just like, it just seems like all of a sudden now we got back to what we like, an ENG style shoulder-mounted camera. I mean, these nothing against all these things out here. I don't know what you call them, camcorders.
The palm cameras.
Palm quarters. You can't hold that for but seconds.
Right.
This is a real camera, and it's cheap. $8,500 I've been hearing on the web.
Is that right?
Well, I can only talk in terms of list price. It's got a $10,700, including a 70-to-1 Fujinon lens. That's kind of what throws people off. We've had the HPX300 out for a while. Very similar form factor. Nice camera with 2/3 inch lens. It looks a lot like this, but it was, by the time you added a decent lens on it, and the stock lenses as such, were putting you up into that $20,000 range. We had a gap. We had a gap all the way down from a 170 HPX200, HPX 170 that were in that $6,000 price range, up to roughly a $20,000 camera. And guys like you kept saying there's a price point in there. There's a $10,000 price point that is selling right now. It's an attractive point where people can say, I think I can afford this. But what are they getting at that $10,000?
Thank God you didn't go with the wrong form factor for that price, is really what I'm excited about.
Well, it shocked me too. I mean, I was like in shock until we really got to see what they did to build a camera with, as you say, a durable form factor, a real over-the-shoulder, real pros kind of a camera. A guy that doesn't feel like Uncle Harry out there with a palm quarter. You've got a real body, magnesium die-cast, alloy, whatever. It's a durable camera.
No, this speaks of news. You're getting broadcast news. We were kind of finishing that conversation. Event videographers, corporate.
Definitely.
Now, another area that we don't want to leave out, which is really our specialty, is independent filmmakers. You know, I mean, I spoke to Ian over at Lettuce, and he is going to have one of those B4 relays for this camera by NAB, and we're going to be able to completely cinemize this camera, and it'll be getting, you know, shallow depth of field. So, you know, if you're doing some
shoot corporate stuff during the day,
exactly,
make your film on the weekend.
Well, John, you're the perfect person to ask, because you have, what do you have? You got a Red, you got an HVX, you got...
I have an HVX200. I still have my DVX100B, which I love. I have a Sony Betacam. I mean, all great cameras, all different applications.
Yeah.
What intrigues me about this camera is, like we said earlier, it's the first camera in this price range that sits on your shoulder right. It has a real lens with, like I said earlier, with a real f-stop that you can control, and not too much of what it has is buried in a menu. Sure, there's menus, but there are big switches, big controls, and it fits that market where if you're doing corporate industrial or broadcast work, you can certainly do it. Yeah, it's got the 1/3 inch chip, but for that kind of work, I think you're fine. But also, if you're not fine, you can put a lens adapter on here and suddenly be doing the shallow depth of field or making a movie with it. I just think that for the price, it's a phenomenal camera.
You've got professional elements, the Anton Bauer bricks on the back that you can put on as a standard. It has the ins and outs and the shape, and as you say, the total form factor, the removable lenses. Now this is a 1/3 inch. It's a CMOS. It's a new advanced CMOS, 2.2 million pixel. It probably doesn't have quite the sensitivity of the bigger 2/3 inch cameras, and it shouldn't at this price point. But coming out at this level, you've looked at this, and we'll talk about that a little bit later here, but the sharpness of the video, the quality, the colorimetry, the flexibility is probably one of the greatest things on this camera. It shoots standard def, it shoots high def, 25, 50 megabit. It shoots an AVC or DVC Pro 100, which is the normal 100, the 170 type. And then we added AVC-I, which is incredible to put it into a camera at this price point. AVC intra frame is something that higher end shooters are going to love. It gets them into two choices, a 50 megabit, which allows them to shoot at a lower bandwidth. They can capture high definition video at only 50 megs, so you can store more, twice as much data on the cards. Therefore, a 16 gig card is going to get you more, or 32, 64 gig, whatever. If you shoot 100 in the AVCI mode, it's going to be like DVC Pro 100. It'll use basically, you know, a minute per gig, but it's increasing the quality. It's a new MPEG-4 factor. It's an MPEG-4 algorithm that's putting out a 10-bit recording, which is beyond what Vericam, HD Cam can do. They're 8-bit. This is a 10-bit, and we're putting that into a $10,000 camera with a lens, and it's not going to be for everybody right off the bat. Some people are going to grow into the AVCI, but you're not limiting yourself. You have that capability right off the bat. As you grow, that's growing rapidly in the NLE world.
And yeah, there may be cameras with better image quality, but they certainly cost a lot more. And you can do a lot with this camera.
No, that's a good point, John. I mean, what we were talking about earlier is that if you're a news guy or if you're a corporate shooter and your option at this price point is this form factor or the palm quarter form factor, what did you say? That's a no-brainer.
No-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, come on, this thing, you're going to be throwing that. I would live with less picture quality to get it up on my shoulder and have it balanced. And, by the way, I want to make sure we notate that when this type of camera, we sell less Zacuto parts. Because essentially what we're doing with all those palm cameras or whatever you call them is turning them into these.
Into one of these, yeah.
So, and I don't mind making less money. You know, I mean, again, there's an ass for every saddle. And we have some parts that, you know, we make our LWS plates, our follow focus.
You still need arms and mounts and wireless brackets.
But still, for our own uses, and we're shooters too, I would rather have this all day long than...
Absolutely, absolutely. This just works. Everything about it just works.
Right. And you get your eye in the viewfinder. I'm so sick of, you know, using depth of field adapters, looking at monitors. I mean, you know, like you said, it has everything where it's supposed to be. So now let's talk about the picture. We're going to do. Let's go off and we'll do a little test. We'll take a look at it, and we'll see if it stacks up. All right. So now we're going to take a look at the actual cameras now. So we've got the 300 up here. And we have side-by-sided it with an EX3, Sony EX3 right here. And you can check out these monitors. What do you think, guys? Let's take a look at some of the, what do you see here? They look pretty close.
Yeah, very, very close.
I think we set them up pretty nice.
Both cameras seem to be handling the red pretty well.
Yep.
Which I know could be a tricky color sometimes.
I actually like in this area right here, I like how this Panasonic deals with the hot spots and the highlights. I've tried irising this one down a little bit, the EX3, and I noticed that I lose a little detail in here when I try to get a comparable exposure there. But definitely, it's nice seeing Panasonic in 1080 like this.
Yeah, the Panasonic does seem like it would cut well with a Vericam, or on the other end of the spectrum, say an HPX300.
Mm-hmm.
At this stage, you're not seeing the effects of the long GOP structure. You know, on a frame-based system, you will see benefits as you start to edit. So you will not have problems of lost information as you're making transfers through multiple generations and then having to guess where you're going to come in at, where you'll start seeing little motion artifacts, little edges.
422 color space.
Right, that is another thing that it would be. On the cameras, just live E to E, they're going to look comparable.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go and record and play that back, the 422 color sampling, there's going to be a difference. There's another thing that the 300 adds that's kind of neat in that we have had all the standard def. It records standard def. It's not just an HD only recorder like some. It does your 25 megabit. It does 50 megabit. So you want to have 422 standard def, you've got that.
All right, so we looked at the camera.
Yeah.
Thought it looked nice. What do you think,
I liked it a lot. I was surprised.
Ned?
Looked good to me. Looked really good to me.
I mean, frankly, I would rather have, like here in our rental department, we have what, nine HVXs or something that we rent, 10 HVX200s. This video, every video we shoot is with 4, 5, 6 HVX200s, and we have to do this sync, you know, like we did earlier. I mean, it would be great to have these. We could lock them all, gen lock them together, jam sync the time code. It's like when we yeah. How does that happen? How does it that we're talking that we did things in the old days that we cannot do now?
Steve, that stuff never went away. It just stayed expensive, and the
Yeah, that's
whole
true.
lower market grew.
That's true.
And now it's coming back around with those features in the lower price.
In a lower, yeah, that he really brought up a good point. This is something to Panasonic's credit here, is that that's exactly right. We're getting used to this idea that the cost of these production cameras should be dropping, but we always used the high-end cameras, you know, and paid they were always 40 or 50,000 or rented them or whatever, you know, and we had audio meters, XLR inputs, you know, everything was there. But now we started getting down to these palm cameras, and we're like, where are all the features we're accustomed to? We're all mad. We want them.
You know who's going to get into this is the guys who were sort of forced to get their HVX200s for these lower budget but had to be HD things, that were pros, that were used to this, now can get what they really want and still be in that, that price range.
Well, it'll be a nice compliment for somebody who's got a 200 to have this as a, you know, a step up to go with it.
As their A camera
Agreed.
now.
This would be, yes, an excellent A camera.
For the HVX.
Side camera, B camera. Okay, my summation, robust. I just am so tired of hearing about people, you know, and frankly, they had to expect that some of these palm cameras would break now and then. You're not paying that much.
A handle you can trust.
Yeah, excellent handle. Summation?
I'll take one.
You like it? Okay.
Summation, I'll sell a lot. I mean, every one you want, we will supply. Now, we should have good stock on this. I think it's going to be a big seller. We expect big numbers on this product. And I'm not disappointed with what I've seen, and time will tell.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in, man. That was great.
Thank you, gentlemen.